2021 gave us one official teaser of the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, a new logo for the placeholder title, and some new patents to have fun with. 2022 on the other hand is supposed to give us all the goods, from the first proper trailer, gameplay with final game icons, reveal of the actual title, demo at E3, and finally the release of the game, plus much more. So let's go one final time for 3,500 likes for the 35th Zelda anniversary and press that subscribe button completely for free to not miss anything Zelda throughout 2022. With that out of the way, let's go over when and what we think we'll see of Breath of the Wild 2 reveals during its release year in 2022. Hello there, Commonwealth from here. 2022 has since the E3 2021 Nintendo Direct ended.
We're aiming for a 2022 release, so I hope you'll look forward to it.
Been repeated time and time again by Nintendo to be the release year of the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Even so, since the ground return of the game last June, we have, with the exception of a few patents, seen nothing new from the sequel, which no doubt is Nintendo's closest guarded secret in 2022. Then when will we see the game with new action? Most likely sometime after another Breath of the Wild inspired game is released on January 28, Pokemon Legends Arceus. The Isu region, or a precursor of Sinnoh, will definitely be in the spotlight until the beginning of February. After that, in February or March, we usually see the first of 3 Nintendo Directs of the year. Though it has to be said that brand new 3D Zelda games have, with one notable exception in 2015, not appeared in regular non-E3 Nintendo Directs. With that being said, with this first one, there's an opportunity to hype up for a big E3 blow-up, meaning that Nintendo could bring something like Breath of the Wild 2 to their first overall presentation of the year. Not necessarily a trailer, and most likely not the title, but maybe gameplay and or a concept art similar to the one we saw of Link climbing the day before E3 2016, or even the concept art of Link that we got when it was announced that what would become Zelda Breath of the Wild will be present with trailers and demos at E3 2016. Thus I see it as probable that we could get a Breath of the Wild 2 shoutout during the first Nintendo Direct of the year, but much like with the reveal of the final Smash character, it will only be a shoutout for a big presentation coming later down the line, in this case E3 2022. It will be an efficient method for Nintendo to reconfirm that Zelda is on track and will release in late 2022, but that you will get everything you crave for at E3 2022 with the first proper trailer, gameplay, demos, and obviously title reveal. No doubt, Nintendo has, as Billtrend mentioned after E3 2021, a plan for 2022, and in order to not spoil the game too early, the title has to remain under the wraps until the last big event to truly launch its marketing campaign. Delaying this one to E3 or mid to second half of the year serves also a different purpose, namely allowing the 2022 releases coming out before Zelda to shine in the first Nintendo Direct of the year, that being primarily giving the specific 2022 release dates for Nintendo's other 2 announced first-party releases so far, Kirby and the Forgotten Land and Splatoon 3. Both shined in the September Nintendo Direct, but it is likely that Nintendo want them to shine one final time without being overshadowed by the first proper trailer and final title of the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Due to all of this, I don't expect more than a shoutout to Zelda in February with an E3 presence and 2022 release promise in February/March. E3 2022 on the other hand will be majestic as the first in-person convention that Nintendo aims to dominate, both with their presentation and booth presence. As we all remember how Nintendo won E3 2016 with Breath of the Wild alone. Well, this time they will have the sequel to Breath of the Wild with probably an amazing booth presence, but at the same time they have too many other games to dedicate their entire booth area to Zelda again. Zelda will no doubt dominate, but it will not be exactly 2016 all over again. Instead, it will be the 2016 we never got due to the delay of the Nintendo Switch from 2016 to March 2017. That is right, Zelda's second delay was due to hardware, not software reasons. So let me lay out the following scenario that I believe is the most likely for the Breath of the Wild sequel, the original 2016 plan. A massive and aggressive 5-month marketing campaign which will start with reveals at E3, which will provide the 5 things we have been missing so far. Trailer, title, gameplay, demo and release date, plus maybe an amiibo announcement, and then be followed by monthly updates which intensifies in the final months, leading to a very likely mid to late November release. Just think of it, Pokemon Legends Arceus is launching at the end of January, meaning that the November slot is for a change free from Pokemon and ready to be claimed by Zelda. Much like Zelda games prior to Breath of the Wild released in November and were marketed with trailers throughout the fall. But if there's one thing that I think we can bet on is that Zelda's takeover is planned from mid-June all the way to the end of the year. Not so different from the marketing campaigns we saw for Super Mario Odyssey in 2017, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in 2018 and Metroid Dread in 2021. What did these games have in common? Short but very concentrated marketing campaigns. The same I believe will be the case with Breath of the Wild sequel, where things will be rather silent until they explode at E3. And I don't expect much before that, because we already have 2 teaser trailers of this game that is using the same characters, open world, and engine from a game that we can all play right now. Truth to be told, with the sequel, the Zelda team is greatly expanding and evolving on the formula we fell in love with over 5 years ago, ever since we saw that grand E3 2016 demo. Thus it wouldn't surprise me if Nintendo's E3 booth will have a 3-layered theme, with parts of it being underground, then the middle section being the open world we know from Breath of the Wild, and finally, before you leave the booth, entering the sky so attendees live with a heavenly experience. Either that or just the sky booth turning Nintendo's booth into a literal heaven. Now then, let's move away at last from E3, the home of 3D Zelda, to more unsure presentations. First of all, I don't think we'll have to wait until October like we had to with the Nintendo Switch reveal in 2016 in order to see the game again, since Gamescom exists in August, and with travel restrictions, it is likely that the Zelda team and Nintendo will want to have playable demos of this game there, and most likely also separate events in Japan. We still live under the same situation as in 2020 and 2021, and it is even uncertain whether the Zelda team will come over to Los Angeles in June 2022. In other words, we'll see difference and a few changes from where the upcoming Zelda in 2016 was only playable at E3 to 2021 when there's no hardware reveal to diminish a certain version of the game. The Wii U. But even more so, a need to bring the game around the world instead of asking the world to come together for one pre-launch demo session in Los Angeles. Now then, excluding the big in-person events, what can we expect in regards to post-E3 digital reveals of Breath of the Wild 2 in 2022? Most will say the September Nintendo Direct, which has remained consistent apart from 2020. And I would agree, this would be the perfect stage to break the barrier of keeping new 3D Zelda games away from non-E3 Nintendo Directs. Primarily for one reason, the first Zelda-themed hardware and the collector's edition for this game. The first one, which we remember, was not revealed at all for Breath of the Wild, while the other was revealed less than 2 months prior to its release. In other words, the September Nintendo Direct, being most likely 2 months away from the most likely release window, will be the perfect stage to announce the Collector's Edition system bundle and the Collector's Edition of the game itself. It just makes sense, as system bundles for Super Mario Odyssey and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate were announced exactly the same way. And in 2022, this is very likely to be Nintendo Switch OLED Zelda Edition. What if Nintendo decides to let Zelda skip the September Nintendo Direct, staying true to the tradition that 3D Zelda games are too special for regular Nintendo Directs? Or it might show up in the Direct, but that alone is far from enough. Well then, there's a far more exciting option that could take place in either October or just a few weeks prior to a launch in the beginning of November. The first ever dedicated Zelda Direct, where everything is about Breath of the Wild 2, in a similar fashion to the dedicated Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Direct in November 2017 and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Direct in November 2018. It makes too much sense, as there will be no Nintendo Switch presentation to bring that one trailer that changes everything and gets everyone ready for the launch just a few weeks later. Followed right after by official previews and 1 or 2 more final trailers leading up to the launch trailer. Literally, what matters for Zelda is the second half of 2022, or more specifically everything from the moment the final title and release date of the game has been revealed at E3 2022. Presence at the world's biggest conventions with demos, possibly even monthly reveals in the form of new clips to Nintendo's YouTube channel, a fall Nintendo Direct, but most of all, and hopefully, the first ever Zelda Direct, a 30+ minute presentation fully dedicated to this one title. The final new open world Zelda title on the Switch, and with it a Zelda Direct, much like the final Super Smash Bros. Direct prior to release, revealed that a big paid expansion pack with 2 big DLC packs will come out in the middle and end of 2023, giving us another year of Zelda hype to look forward to after a possible November 2022 release. As this game deserves it, bringing the hype to astronomical levels with a few but so packed appearances that 5 months of promo with the actual title of the game will be more than enough. Containing other reveals like the first official limited edition Zelda-themed Nintendo Switch system, Zelda Pro Controller, Game Collector's Edition, Amiibo, and hopefully an expansion pack that will keep the hype going through E3 2023 all the way to possibly another Zelda conclusion at the Game Awards, but this time in 2023. But what do you think of all of this? I want to see your opinion on Breath of the Wild 2 reveals in 2022 in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, then be sure to leave a like and please subscribe for free, as you will make me so happy now that we are aiming for new heights in 2022. And the same goes for pressing that notification bell to not miss any Breath of the Wild 2 videos in what Nintendo has repeated again and again will be its release year. Lastly, a big thanks to all our patreon.com/commonworld patrons, and in particular to robot producer Charles Shash. You rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.